Chapter 1. Letter. You are listening at famvetv.info. Inside a manor, a young and handsome man was reading a book while sitting on a chair next to a fireplace. This young man looked to be in his 20s and had a very handsome face. He was tall, about 180 centimeters with black hair and blue eyes. He had an angular face. To be precise, he had a face that solicited trust in others. However, this young man's eyes betrayed the kindness that his face displayed. Deep in his eyes were a terrifying calmness, a calmness that bordered on indifference to anything and everything, even human lives. While the young man was reading, he suddenly raised his head and looked through the window. There, he saw an owl a few meters away rushing in his direction. He waved his hand, then the window opened. A few seconds later, the owl entered the cozy room with a letter in his mouth. The young man snapped his finger, then a few pieces of bread appeared on a table at arm's reach from him. While the owl gorged itself, the young man opened the letter. Dear Mr. Edward Bones, we are pleased to inform you that you have passed the first review to become a professor at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. However, a final interview with the headmaster is required before a final decision can be made. This interview will take place 3 days later on July 7, 1991. Please send a reply indicating your attendance on said date. Yours sincerely, Professor Minerva McGonagall, Deputy Headmistress. Edward sighed after seeing this letter. It has been more than 17 years since he transmigrated into this world. At that time he was only 6 years old. After going through the shock and grieving process of his death and reincarnation, he was quick to discover that he was in the Harry Potter / world. Luckily for him, the moment he transmigrated was also the moment his magical power rioted. However, he soon learned that he was born more than 17 years before the start of the story. Edward was very happy with this fact, as this meant that he had plenty of time to grow stronger. Of course, that was if he could survive the first Wizarding War while being a 6-year-old toddler. After taking a brief stride towards memory lane, Edward took out a quill to reply back. Once the owl was finished eating, Edward placed the letter in his mouth and watched him fly away. 3 days later, Edward put on a muggle suit that he had personally tailored for him with a cloak on. Then, he instantly apparat from his home and appeared at Diagon Alley. While walking in the crowded alley, Edward watched many crowds going in and out of many stores. His eyes stood for a brief moment of 2 particular children. They each had a strange object attached to their wrists. Then, these 2 children would place a card on the object in their hand, following which, different kinds of monsters would appear after they each took their turns playing the cards. What these children were playing was actually U.Gi.O dueling cards invented by Edward himself. The game has become widely popular in the wizard world among both children and adults. Official competitions have already been conducted, and even an international one was held 2 years ago. After only taking a brief look at these children, Edward headed to one of his stores. However, before he could enter, he encountered a woman that was exiting the store. The woman looked at him briefly before screaming out loud, "You / Edward Bones." The scream was so loud that all the people around stopped walking to look over. Then, they all became excited after seeing him. The woman started to talk rapidly. "It / really you. I can / believe I met Edward Bones, the receiver of the Medal for Magical Merit for being one of the most outstanding graduate of Hogwarts, the receiver of the Barnabas Finkley Prize for exceptional spell casting at the age of 14, the Gold Medal for ground-breaking contribution to the International Alchemical Conference in Cairo. You have also the youngest receiver of the Order of Merlin, first class, the youngest person to receive the title of Grand Alchemist. Many people said that you will be the next Dumbledore, if not more powerful than him. Oh Merlin Beard, not to mention your accomplishment as a potioneer. On behalf of women all over the world, I would like to thank you for the ageless potion. If only the effect lasted more than 6 hours. Madam, you need to calm down, replied Edward while secretly sighing. If he knew that this would happen, he would have used the flu powder instead. Oh, I'm sorry. My children often say that I talk too much. Speaking of my children, they all have collected your chocolate frog card. Even my husband does the same thing. Wait, my husband is here and would love to meet you. Furthermore, he has a camera with him. Do you mind if we take a picture together? The woman did not wait for Edward to answer as she ran as swiftly as possible inside the store and returned with her husband. Then, in front of countless people watching, Edward has to take pictures with the woman and sign a few of his books. Using the excuse that he had an important meeting, he left the crowds that was rapidly increasing and met with the clerk. Listen to the full novel at famvetv.info, direct link in the description.